All right, everyone, might as well get started. Good afternoon. We will be recording this workshop and we will email it to those of you who have registered, and we'll also put it on our library's YouTube channel for subsequent analysis. Hi, my name is Kevin Gunn. I'm coordinator of digital scholarship, and I am joined by Charles Gallagher, reference and instruction librarian. And today we're going to be demonstrating various generative AI platforms that you can use for your library research. So let's get started. So we're giving this workshop in order to show how AI platforms can complement your traditional library research methods. We will cover 10 research platforms. That is not meant to be exhaustive. We will put a link to the handouts in the chat. If Charles could do that right now, please. So you can keep track that way. We will have time to give a quick overview of each one, a whirlwind tour, so to speak. Of course, there are many more similar platforms out there, and these platforms mentioned today are popular among researchers, so we're going to focus on those. We're going to look at the uniqueness of each platform and why you may want to add it to your research repertoire. And last, we will also point out some of the limitations of each platform and what you need to look out for when you're doing your research. So in order to see these Gen AI platforms as they are, we sort of need to contrast them in traditional library research. So library research, uses keywords, Boolean operators, and truncation. The researcher has to bring some knowledge of the databases and the search mechanics to the research process. So once an initial search has been done, the researcher evaluates the results, finds new search terms, and repeats the process. So, you type in the word love into a library database, and it'll bring back records that have the word love in it, whether it's in the title, author, abstract, that sort of thing. So if you misspell it, too bad. It's not necessarily going to come to you. So you have to be very specific and accurate in doing this. You also have to have these ideas of how to use Boolean operators and also truncation. So I give the example here of educat with an asterisk. Well, you're assuming that the asterisk is the operator for that particular database. Sometimes it's a question mark or a forward slash, that sort of thing. So you sort of have to bring that information to you. With you when you come use a database. Now, if you look at large language models, they're different in that they will suggest to you the next word. They're essentially next word prediction engines when you strip it right down to their bare essence. So they'll guess one word at a time. So if you start off a sentence, roses are, and then you put it into ChatGPT, for example, it's going to do statistical analysis. It's going to look at algorithms, parameters, training sets, all that sort of stuff. And then it's probably going to come back and say, I think the next word is red, right? And that's great. So you get that. And then it will also anticipate what the next word may be. Perhaps it's going to be violets. So for most of these AI research platforms, you don't need to know prompt engineering, but it does come in handy at different phases, and we'll show you that too. It does depend on the platform. In fact, some of the platforms work as search engines where you can type in a question or a phrase and get some decent results. So what makes these AI research platforms useful is that they use a retrieval augmented generation models. So the process is a two-step process. It retrieves the documents or more, usually chunks of text, given the context, that might be relevant to answering the question. So typically relevant chunks are identified using vector or embeddings based in similar search. And then next, it will feed those chunks of text, context, if you will, to a generative AI model like GPT-3 or 4. and it will, there we go, with a prompt to the query using the context found. So it's very much a two-step process in that regard. So the benefits for the researcher. So these research platforms can help the researcher find relevant papers without having to worry about a perfect keyword match or using Boolean operators. So they offer summaries of research output from the topic specific to the question, and then extract key information from the papers for further perusal and evaluation. So these platforms can discover hidden relationships among papers since they examine the source more deeply than select fields in a library database. And last, they can enhance your research workflow. So research and discovery, note-taking and organization, summarizing papers, performing meta-analyses, and writing assistance. These are just some of the benefits that these platforms can offer. And of course, there are limitations. So all the platforms we will visit today have a free version. However, to get the most of what they have to offer, you usually need to put up some money. You need to get an individual subscription. Sometimes it's $10 to $20 per month if you're doing it on a monthly basis. If you subscribe annually, then it's cheaper. We should mention that these platforms have begun offering subscriptions to academic institutions and libraries. So expect more of that in the future. And there are definitely libraries, academic libraries out there that are now subscribing to a number of these platforms. So we're going to see this whole area evolving over time. So in generative AI, a lot has been made about hallucinations, making up answers and citations. So these platforms generally avoid this problem by retrieving material from Semantic Scholar, which is an open access platform of vetted academic research material. So in other words, good stuff. Uh, Hallucinations are kept to a minimum, but they can still be present, and it does depend on the platform that you're using. So I see a lot of variety there. Last, since most of these platforms pull from Semantic Scholar, there are still gaps in the coverage of material that is subscription-based or behind a paywall. So anything that's subscription-based, maybe your library has it. So, consequently, you will still need to use library subscription databases for performing a complete search strategy on your topic. So I've said this a million times before to students, you should not have to pay for any journal article that you come across in your research. You can go through our libraries, our library at Catholic University, and either find it there through our subscription database or do an interlibrary loan. So it should not cost you anything. So I want to bring that up right away. So what are we going to look at today? So here are the platforms that we're going to do a quick look at. Charles, can you put in the link to our handout again? We had a few people join since the last time you did it. Thank you. So our goal is to tantalize you with the possibilities of how you can incorporate these platforms into your research. Is this the future of research? Well, we shall see. We're definitely moving in that direction. And so in the interest of time, we will have about 5 minutes with each platform. So it's not a lot. So we will only provide a quick overview of some of these features. So what we're going to ask is that to expedite this process, we ask that you save your questions until the end, and then we can go from there. So, all right, so let's get going. All right, so the first one we're going to take a look at is Elicit. All right, so here's Elicit. I got some notes here. So Elicit is a search engine designed to automate and accelerate the process of analyzing research papers. It offers users the ability to search through a vast database of academic papers and then provides one-sentence abstract summaries and organizing details from papers into tables for easy comparison. So it assists in synthesizing findings across multiple papers and identifying themes and concepts. So this tool, like so many of the tools that we're going to look at today, they do have a hard science focus. You do have social science in there, obviously, and also humanities, but it does vary across the platform, the various platforms. So some of these tools are very much geared towards examining scientific papers and breaking out the various components of a scientific paper and analyzing it. That's where the value in many of these platforms lie. So Elicit here, it operates on a credit system. It offers both free and subscription-based services like all these and all these platforms, and it emphasizes the importance of user verification of the extracted information for accuracy. So it does, a number of these platforms will help you tell you, say, hey, maybe you want to check this particular result, the results you got may not be the best, so you may need to independently verify. And hey, let's say that's just good research practice anyway. All right, so what I'm going to do is I've saved some time here by already logging in. I should tell you that I'm going to show you the subscription that I have for it. So I have this particular subscription. So looking at this particular one here, what's interesting about Elicit is that it doesn't only cover the open access papers from Semantic Scholar, but it does have non-open access papers as well. So that is very helpful. And it also puts in preprints from archive and I believe other preprint locations. So it does have that variation going on with it. So looking at this, you can do three different things with it. You can go with find papers, you can extract the data from PDFs that you upload, and then you can also look for a list of concepts if that's your thing. So I am going to put in a find papers, and we'll shoot it off here. And here we go. So how does sucrose impact diabetes 2? Again, you'll notice there's a little bit of prompt engineering here. When I first did this research question, I just did how does sucrose impact diabetes 2, and I got articles from 1986. So yeah, maybe I don't want to look at those, right? So I had to refine a little bit. I put that in here for the last 10 years just to take a look. What it does is it summarizes the first 8 abstracts. So here you have a list of papers. It tells you what the citations are, tells you what the DOI is, if you want to go take a look. And let me just pop that up there. So here it is, and it gives you a brief description of what it is. One-page summary, if you will, from that. Let's see if you scroll down here. A very short abstract summary accompanies each one of these. There we go. And here's one where it'll do much more. Let me clear that out. List that here so you can see the particular record. You can get a good sense of what that's here. It lists the citations. It also points you to Semantic Scholar as well. So it can take you to that. We'll be looking at Semantic Scholar later. So that's a quick look at finding papers there. So if we want to do this next one, extract data from the PDFs. What I did here is I actually uploaded papers so I could do this. I'm going to change it up here. Look at Immanuel Kant and the concept of love, and put these 3 in. So it parses the papers and it gives you a final list of results here. And one of the things that it will point out, and this is something that I'll show in a bit, you'll notice on the right-hand side here, you'll have a number of columns that you can add that can discuss, for example, main findings. So this will tell you what's in this paper and what the main finding is. You'll notice too, it has intervention, outcome measure, intervention effects. And in fact, if I click on show more, you have a lot more ways that you can look at papers. So it's a very quick way of looking at this. Obviously, I don't want to know the funding source for this particular paper since it's a humanities paper. So you get a quick look at that. Now, if you want to look at list of concepts, you can do, let me just do this. I'm going to change it up a bit. I'm going to use treatments for hair loss and just see what we get here. So when you do treatments for hair loss, you get the main concept and also sub-concepts. So when you're doing your searching and you're not too sure how should I limit or combine my original search with, this will give you much more specific references, concepts, and you'll notice a lot. They'll tell you what it is, so you can get very, very specific. And on the right, it'll also give you a list of these sources, and you can click on that and it will tell you where it's pulling from, and it'll say, so if it's an open paper, you can go look at the paper as well. So there's quite a bit of integration in here, and it helps you with generating search concepts to apply to your research. So that is Elicit. Let us move on to the next one, which is Scite. And this one's a very popular one out there with the scientists. Each of these platforms has a splash page, so they'll show you what it is they're doing, who supports it, various researchers and that, what's going on with your research, how it breaks down. It talks about what sort of things you have, like search citation statements and all these sorts of things. So a lot of interesting and testimonials as well. So they have a lot of things here. So with Scite, if you just want to have some fun, you can go in and type a word in there, a search phrase, and you can get whatever, whatever you want to come back. So if I wanted to do treatments for hair loss, let's see what we get. Okay, so here we have a list here. And I should mention, Scite is a search engine for exploring and evaluating scientific articles, and they use a concept called smart citations. So these citations not only reference the original publication, but they also provide context and categorization, indicating where the citing papers support or contrast the original claims, which is a really excellent feature if you're a scientist. So this unique approach helps researchers quickly understand how a publication has been cited and contextualized in subsequent research. So it's very good for literature review process. They claim to have 1.2 billion citation statements listed in here. So it's quite a comprehensive listing. I did the free search here and I got this listing here, and you'll notice they have the keyword and context listed here. The show citation statement isn't listed, but hey, whatever. Let's see. If I were to log in, do this. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at this right now. If you log in, it'll show you this show citation feature. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see, will it let me do this? Oh, no, it won't let me do that. All right. All right, I will just do this for now. we still get some value out of this. So you look at this, it will give you this, so it'll give you a citation statement. What I like about this is that it will tell you the number of publications that are cited, cite this work. It will also tell you who else has supporting citation statements with it, and also those where it's mentioned. And what it'll do is it'll list here, this is mentioned in this particular paper. There's a subheading called therapeutic agents for alopecia, and then it's mentioned in that. So sometimes they'll say the section is in the introduction, that sort of thing. So it tells you right away, like, is it worthwhile if they're just mention it once and then they pass on, or if it's worth going into a deeper analysis of this. And they also have a final feature here of contrasting citation statements. So there's something where someone may write a different opinion about this particular paper, or the effects of that paper, effects of alopecia, whatever, on hair treatment. So you get a lot of that in there. So you have a long list here, and you just go through and you can take a look at this. I should mention they have quite a bit of faceted searching here, so you can restrict by all these different sections here. If I click on year, it goes way back, and then you'll notice there's a lot more written more recently. You can look at affiliations of people, where they're coming from, who's doing a lot of work in this area, pub types, how many articles, reviews, that sort of thing, and topics and editorial notes and that. So you do have access to that. One more feature of this, if you're old school like me, they do have an advanced feature where you can do a search builder, and they have their traditional Boolean search methods and truncation and all that there. So if you want to try a different way in this database, you can do it that way as well. So, if I click on pricing here, this will tell you what the pricing is. You'll notice a monthly plan is, you get 7 days. So if you want to try this, you can try it right now and play around with it and find out how to use it. After that's $20 a month. If you do a yearly, then it'll cost you a little bit less. So just something to keep in mind. All right. Now, the third one we're going to look at is called Keenious. Keenious is a very interesting page here. It operates on the concept of citation Perl searching. So in traditional library searching, you put in your search terms, you get a list of results, you scroll through them, then you find that, quote unquote, perfect article. And then from that article, from that library catalog record, you extract, search terms like words that are in the abstract, or words that are in subject heading, that sort of thing. So you build from that, and you look at the references in that article, and you build from that. So that's concept citation Perl searching. Well, they're using this way, using this method for you to do your research as well. So what's interesting about Keenious is that it integrates it into Microsoft Word and Google Docs. So you can put in a little app in there in your Word, for example, and use that as you're moving forward and doing your research. So it compares content with millions of research articles, offering tailored suggestions. Its features include highlight searching, topic suggesting, advanced filtering, quick referencing, and smart bookmarks in that. So let me do a very quick thing here. So I'm now logged in, and you can tell the bottom left-hand corner has my name there, and you can get the add-ins and that sort of thing. A lot of these will also have little tabs on the side that'll help you with getting started, and similar articles, and a lot more stuff telling you what's happening behind the scenes of that. So I won't get into that, but here we go. I'm going to choose a PDF from here, and I'm going to do this one, RIO's article on Kant and love. I load that bad boy up, and there it is. So the whole article's listed in here. So you can scroll through and take a look at it. what's nice about this is that it lists articles and topics. So if you look at the articles here, this column here says, based on 6% of your documents. So with Keenious free, that's what we're using. Your analysis is limited to the first 1,000 words. So upgrade to plus for unlimited analysis. So obviously, that's going to impact the articles that they're going to be showing you right now, to a certain degree. So if you had the subscription and you did, and it looked at the entire article, then you'd probably get quite different results. So something to keep something in mind. You'll notice here that there is open access linking here. So you can go get that article if you wanted, and listing of citations. Also, there's some listed here that are not available through this website or links, but you can get a journal article like this from our library website doing a search that. So not a problem. Let me just click on the first one here. It gives you the particular journal, excuse me, and the abstract. If that's it, it does link, says access full text. This takes you to this thing called LibKey. So they have a working relationship with LibKey. Our library does not subscribe to this. Otherwise, you'll be able to log in and go get the article. But like I said, you can use our library website to get at the material. In this case here, there's a PDF and links listed here, so not a problem. And what's nice about this one is that it will link to other articles. So if you liked this top article that you're looking at, it'll have these listed here as well. And that is quite useful. All right. You could bookmark cross language and all that. If you look at topics, they'll list a whole bunch of topics here, topics that you can use to combine your searching. You'll notice they start off very general, psychology, morality, sociology. But as you get further down, they do get more particular. So action physics, Hegelianism, if you're going that route, dignity, that sort of thing. So it's worthwhile taking a look at, but you do have to scroll through a number of the topics. All right, that is Keenious in a nutshell. Our next one is consensus. And this is another popular one. It's AI search engine for research. Hey, go figure. So here's the free version of this. And I've typed in, what are some treatments of baldness here? And let me see if you look at pricing here. Just one before I do that. You'll notice they have different models. Again, they do have credit limits possibly. So here you have 20 AI credits per month, and then it refreshes. So depending how busy, how much work you're doing, you may be able to get by with the free version of this. So here's another one with premium, and then they have enterprise custom ones. So just to give you an idea. All right, so I'm going to do this on the freebie here. All right, so we did a search here, and it has a number of these things, a number of citations listed. You'll notice here, synthesize and copilot. So I'm going to click on both of these. And you'll notice that they are beta versions listed here. So they are continuing to roll out these features and tweak them and that. So I'll tell you this right now. This information is current as of Friday, February 9th in the early afternoon, because after that they could change stuff. And I've seen things change from day to day. So it's pretty cool. So synthesize multiple papers, so enables you to have your AI read several papers and synthesize the results. I'm down to 10 credits and I have to wait till March 6th. So I got to be careful with my searching here. And then the Copilot enables you to get answers, generate content, and more with your AI research assistant thing. So if you look down here, what it does, the Copilot describes and lists, it gives you a good overview of what it found. And if I say, oh, this looks very low laser therapy, I can click on 3 and it'll take me down here and it says, hey, look, it's highly cited. And we can take a look at this entire article and you can generate a snapshot. Oh, got to upgrade to premium if you want more. So, but you see, you got your basic idea of those. Let's see if I do this again. Oh, I'm not too sure what that is. So I'm logged in here and you'll see the Copilot is working on it right as we talk about it. So it will give an answer, and who knows, it'll be the same answer as the other one. Hopefully one would think so, but you just never know. Let's see, you can search filters by different study types, study details, years, and all that sort of thing. So different ways that you can do the searching. All right, so that is consensus. And I'll let it run in the background here. So and now we have the last one that I'll be presenting on, and this is ScholarAI. So if we look at pricing, you get this ScholarAI for free, and it lists what you can do with this, which is kind of limited. If you get ScholarAI Basic or ScholarAI Premium, then you get to do a lot more. They are also rolling out a thing called ScholarAI Copilot as well. So that is something that will continue to evolve. Typical splash page, this shows you what you could do with this, read and summarize full text, create and save citations, that sort of thing. Paper questioning and answering, you're going to have a premium search thing here. So I should mention that in doing the searches using ScholarAI, you do have to have a subscription to GPT, just to move forward with this, to work with this. So it's kind of a pricey, it can be a kind of a pricey thing moving forward with this, since it is using OpenAI ChatGPT 4, I should mention. So you have lists here. They have the ScholarAI Copilot and they have GPT and also the plugin. I did some searches before. So here is the Scholar, the Scholar AI Copilot feature here. I did a quick search through here and I came up with these particular pages. So I did a DOI search on a paper and I asked for it to show me papers that have cited this paper. And it came back and it said, oh, sure, here these are. Here's some ones I've used as paper. The problem is that the paper I mentioned had 2021 and the material came back with 2020 and previous. So it basically gave me misinformation, hallucinations. So that was very interesting to see that. So anyway, I redid the search here. The paper was originally on libraries' role in student engagement. And so I just wrote this, can you give me 10 papers that demonstrate libraries' roles in student engagement? And these are the results that came back. So it gave you this listing here, and each of these links, you'll notice they're on the right-hand side. They'll tell you very quickly, but you can click on one of these. Let's see, let me do this one. And it'll take you to that. So it is helpful, but you do have to have that. And the last one was the ChatGPT version, the GPT right here. I just ran a quick results through here. So here's my searching the references, that particular DOI. So it wasn't very helpful in that. So it did give me results here that are helpful. but you'll notice they don't give the date. I did an earlier version of this and they didn't give, they gave the year. In this particular case, they did not give the year. So I scratched my head on that and there you go. So whew, that's a lot right there. I'm going to now turn it over to Charles and he's going to look at the next 5.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kevin. So the first one that we'll look at is OpenAlex. Oh, my apologies. I need to share my screen. Okay. So the next one that we're going to look at is OpenAlex. OpenAlex is a catalog that provides index information for millions of works, such as journal articles, books, and data sets. Drawing on data from several sources, including the now defunct Microsoft Academic Graph, OpenAlex has developed connections between works and authors based on bibliographic information. OpenAlex includes citation records, author records, and institutional records, allowing for the kind of in-depth research normally reserved for Scopus and World of Science. We're going to do, in our example, a search for the concept of solar power and see what comes up. And it's defaulting to title search first. Let me try let's see, concept search. Solar power. Okay, and so by doing the concept search, we now see our list of results here on the left-hand side, about 18,270 works. And on the right-hand side, we have these helpful infographics that we can use to kind of narrow down our study. So we can see that we can see the number of results arranged by publication date. We can also see the option of how many of these items are the results that are open access. And we can also see the institutions that are associated with these works. So if I am doing research and I want to just find articles that I can get immediately at hand, I might want to narrow down my search to just open access resources. And as you can see, that has narrowed down our results. If I have additional filters that I want to apply, I can do what I just did a second ago and go to add filter and apply additional filters as necessary. Let's go ahead and go into one of the records itself to see what it looks like. So here we see our basic bibliographic information, and we see a bit of an abstract as well. On the side over here, we can see how often this article has been cited. So we get the total number, and we also see over the years, like when this has been cited. So we can see that this article has been used pretty consistently across the last decade as part of the research community. Another neat feature about this is we can go ahead and go to the author page, and we are given a a page about the author. We can see alternative works that they've worked on. So if I want to see if I found the original article particularly useful to my research, maybe I want to see if this author has written other things that may be relevant to what I'm doing. And so kind of using OpenAlex, we are able to kind of dive deep into the research and find out how well cited and how well used certain articles are by the research community. The next AI platform that we will talk about is Research Rabbit. Research Rabbit helps users locate related resources to material they've found useful. Described by itself as Spotify for research, users can build collections based on their interests and add citations of research documents that have been useful to them. The system will then provide recommended articles or authors based on the articles added to their collection. From there, you can choose another article and hop to other related articles and authors, further expanding your search and helping you find related sources. This method is similar to a search strategy known as gathering pearl searching. We'll start by creating a collection here in our option. We'll go ahead and call it solar power. And what I want to do is go into my collection and go to this big green button here that says add papers. So you're going to want to add the citation information to your collection. In this case, I'm going to type in the title of an article I looked up before. Please note that there is an option to import your Zotero collection into Research Rabbit. It is a multi-step process that we do not have time to go into today, but be aware that that is an option if you do use Zotero. You can just have your collection in Zotero added to Research Rabbit as well. And so I look through my list and I'm going to choose this article to add to my collection. So here I have it added to my solar power collection. I can click on it and I'll get a nice little description about the article. I'll get some bibliographic information about this article. And over here on the right-hand side, I have options to kind of expand my search to explore other papers. So I can look for works that Research Rabbit has told me is similar to the one that I have added to my collection, or I can look at the articles that have been cited by this author in this paper if I want to see how they stack up or how they compare. So I'm going to click on similar works. And on the left-hand side here, I have this like long, maybe 50-word list, 50 paper list of different works that are related to my topic. Or I can also come over here to this nice little infographic to see how they are connected with one another. I'm going to have to go ahead and zoom in to show you what I mean. So over here, I have this little network where I can see that this author has cited these other works in this paper. So if I've decided that this work is, if I found this work to be useful to me, then this author, for example, in 2015 might also be useful to me. And if I click on that, I now have it selected here. If I read through this abstract and I decide that this is relevant to what I'm doing, I can come here to add it to my collection. And it goes back over here to my my collection in solar power. And I can then look for additional works that are similar to this one here. And again, I'm given my list, and I also have now even more to look through and another network to look at. If you are trying to organize your list of papers in this collection by date, you can come up here to the timeline. So you can get a good idea of, okay, this was published in 2015. These are some of the works that were published late after that. And then this is one of the more later works as well. So you can kind of use that to get a better understanding of kind of the direction that the field is going. So I think you can see that as you're going, you're kind of going down a rabbit hole after a rabbit hole, looking at article after article. So this is a handy tool. It is free to use. So if you are planning to, you already have a work that is useful to you, you can just put it into Research Rabbit and see if you may be able to find something more useful down the road. So that is Research Rabbit. The next one, and also be aware too that while all this material may not be available online for free, if you find articles that are useful to you, you can take that information to the library website, to our catalog, and search to see if you can get access to that material that way as well. So even if you can't immediately get access to it, it's always a good idea to take it back to search box and see if we can get access to it through library resources. The next one that we'll go to is Perplexity. So Perplexity is a lot like ChatGPT, but unlike ChatGPT, you have options for what kind of focus your research will, your query will go into. So with focus you can choose a kind of, well, a focus, either like, for example, academic, writing, or YouTube, which will shape the kind of answer to your question that you'll get and the kind of resources that Perplexity will look for when trying to answer your question. For now, we're just going to go ahead and type in status of solar power in the state of Maryland. And go to our little arrow. Give it a second to come up with results. And so here I am, I asked my question, and here's the answer that Perplexity is giving me. What's really neat about it, though, is that in addition to giving me this answer, it gives me these links that I can click on, and they will link to outside resources where Perplexity drew the answer from. So in addition to giving me an answer, it also cites where it gets the information that it provides. So kind of one of the problems with some of these services is that they can sometimes make up the information and it's not clear where it's drawing that information from. So Even if, for example, this information was slightly inaccurate, I could still go to the resource that it's pulling from and verify that the information is indeed correct. Or if it's not correct, I can resubmit my query and go on from there. So that's a very handy part of, being able to pull where those articles are coming from. Another neat thing too is that it'll also generate images for you. It'll pull images from the internet and have these presented to you to look at. You can also search for videos as well. It does have an option of creating images, AI art, so to speak, but it is part of the pro package. So right now we're dealing with the free version, and if I wanted to have it create images for me, I would need to have a paid subscription. Let's go ahead and go down here. And I can also see related questions. So if I wanted to ask a follow-up question, the system is suggesting these as a possibility. The final thing I wanted to highlight is Copilot. And Copilot kind of does a follow-up question with you as you ask your question. It's kind of like going to a reference librarian and having a very generic question to ask them, and they will try to tease out what you're really looking for, what are you really interested in, and try to help you then find the best resource possible. Not quite that elaborate and that sophisticated, but Copilot can kind of help you narrow down your search to a more specific question. So I'm going to use the example provided by the help page here in Perplexity, and we will go with help me plan a trip to Japan. And we'll go ahead and click the arrow. And it will start thinking about the question, and it'll say, so what is my main purpose for visiting Japan? I didn't specify that in my original query. So if I want to click on tourism, it'll read my response. And what parts of Tokyo or Japan am I interested in visiting? I'll name a city. And we'll just go there. And it'll just keep asking these questions, and you can see what it is kind of looking at. And now, of course, in addition to an elaborate an answer, I see I have these links too. So I can use these links to go to outside websites to help me plan my trip. And it's still going. So Perplexity has a lot of the same features as ChatGPT, but it does have a lot of advantages too. So it's a good tool for, for the academic environment and also in just casual use as well. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go to Lateral now. So Lateral is a bit different than the other services that we've talked about today. So where a lot of them are about discovery, Lateral is more about resource management. It's a database which allows users to build collections based on their research needs. You can locate and upload relevant documents to your research, add concepts, and search those concepts amid the articles listed in your self-made database. So we're going to go ahead and go to this project that I created, Solar Power. And you've already seen that I've uploaded a couple documents to this site. To add documents, what you can do is come to this button here, which is called Add Documents, and you can upload documents by browsing on your file, or you can try and search for them. And so with the search options, you can either use Semantic Scholar, or you can use Unpaywall, another search engine that searches open access material. For the time being, we're going to stick with Semantic Scholar, and I'm going to go ahead and type in my query of solar power and let it search for me. And so now I have a list of results generated from Semantic Scholar on solar power. You'll notice here this little plus button, that will let me add these documents to my project. You notice not all of them have that option, unfortunately. But what I can do is if it is not blocked by a paywall, I can see if I can add it. And sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. But at the very least, I can go to this little icon here. That'll link me out to Semantic Scholar, where I can figure out how to get a copy of this article. So once you have articles added to Semantic Scholar or to Lateral, what you can do is you can add concepts here. And so a concept is basically something you want to search the document for. So solar power is good. Put that in there. And so when you have the concept listed, you can then search the document for this concept that solar power is good. And it's going to give you a list of snippets. snippets that the system believes kind of best represents your concept in searching. So it isn't just looking for a keyword search, it's also kind of trying to put it in context and make sense of it as well. So if I'm looking through this list and I decide this looks good and that looks good and this looks good, I can then later on go back to my document and I can look through my saved list here. And you'll notice too that I can also do it for this document as well. It kind of just, because it's a table, you just go down the column after and search through it that way as well. So you can also use what's called super search to search across all the documents in your project or all the documents in your workspace. So that other project that I had listed, this search would go through that one as well. And I could just do solar power. And so then I can look through them and add snippets that way as well. And you can also go to document view, which will allow you to look at this document and the snippets at the same time and do the solar power search. So I can see where in the document that snippet is being pulled from. Now, this is like, I envision this as being the most effectively useful after you've read the article and you have verified that it's good for you to use. You can then upload it to this program and then have these snippets saved so that later on when you're writing a paper or working on a dissertation, you can quickly refer back to these sections that you found relevant and useful to your topic area without having to take copious notes and have to flip through like notebooks to try to find that section that's just very important to your paper. You can just have it kind of organized here on Lateral. The last one we'll talk about is one that we've kind of covered a little bit and discussed and used in the earlier parts of this presentation. It is Semantic Scholar. So Semantic Scholar searches scientific literature using machine learning techniques to bring back results on related concepts instead of just keyword searching. As a result, users may find it more helpful and useful compared to a standard search engine. A neat feature of Semantic Scholar is what they call TLDR, which stands for too long, didn't read. And basically, it's a generated by the search engine, like 3 to 4 sentence paragraph that kind of summarizes the article. So if I'm going through and I'm trying to locate article for a paper and I don't have time to read an entire abstract or much less the entire article itself, maybe I look at this TLDR and I say, perfect, this is exactly what I need and I'm all set and good to go. I can then send it off to my citation manager or pull that information for later examination. So obviously, it is not a replacement for reading an entire article. You still have to read the article, but in the early stage, when you're just trying to do research and gather those resources, TLDR can be a helpful way to kind of get a good idea what the article is. Another neat thing about Semantic Scholar is it makes its citation count pretty obvious up front. So I can see how many times this article has been cited. And I also has a category for highly influential citations as well. So if I click on this article, this item record here, I can see that, I have the title information, the authors, and, more of an abstract and links to outside resources. So once again, if you can't find access to it, immediately, you can take this information and then you can go to the library webpage and see if we have access to it through library resources or request it through interlibrary loan. So libraries do still have a role in this kind of work. It's not you're going to be able to find everything online. And the last thing I'll mention too is that a little bit like OpenAlex, you also have records for the authors as well, where you can see their citation record and their H-index. So that is Semantic Scholar.
Okay. All right, so just a very quick wrap up, and then we can entertain some questions. So basically, takeaways here, you're gonna have to choose the right platform, experiment with a lot of these. There are sources, gaps throughout these platforms, so you have to be aware of those. You should be examining your results critically, making sure that they're accurate, making sure that they're complete. You definitely want to use these platforms if you pick one or two, and then use them to complement your library's resources. Libraries aren't going away anytime soon, so you'll have to use them together. And then the question you have to ask yourself is essentially, is it worth the price of, of a monthly subscription that moving forward? So that's that. So we have our list of references and um, and also some additional reading. So just to give you an idea of what we've got there. So we can now entertain questions. We got one question here. Julie asked, languages, do they have languages other than English in there? I haven't done a search for other languages. I suspect that since it's so much based on Semantic Scholar and the open access stuff, so whatever you're getting from there, whatever results are going to be pulled from there is basically going to tell you. So there will be material in there, but to get to, again, how complete that is, I don't know, honestly. It's something you just have to search for yourself. Do we have other questions? If you have not, we will send out a link to the recording as well as the handouts and the slides. So if we don't have your email, please do email me. My email is Gunn, Gunn @cua.edu. So if you can do that, we'll make sure you get our handouts and stuff. So I don't see any. Oh, one question. No, no. Oh, thank you very much, Roxanne. All right. I think that's it. Thank you everyone for coming, and this is just the start of a conversation on this material, let me tell you. Let me tell you. All right. All right. So take care, everyone. Have a great one.